Hello and welcome. I'm so glad you found your way here, to this quiet corner of the world, a place for rest and reflection. It doesn't matter what time it is where you are, whether the sun is high in the sky, casting long shadows, or the moon is a silent witness in a sea of stars. Here, time slows down. Here, we can simply be. Tonight, we're going to journey back to a time that feels both impossibly distant and strangely familiar. A time after the world was washed clean, when humanity was a single, sprawling family, sharing one voice, one heart, one grand and terribly ambitious idea. We are going to the plains of Shinar, to the foot of a tower that sought to scrape the heavens. But we're not here to simply recount the old familiar Sunday school lesson. We are here to feel it, to stand on the scaffolding, to feel the sun on our necks, and to experience, in the slow, unfolding moments of a single work shift, how a world of perfect unity can unravel into utter confusion. So find a comfortable position. Let your body grow heavy, releasing the tensions of the day. Let your shoulders fall, your jaw unclench. There is nothing you need to do right now, nowhere you need to be, but here, in this story. If you enjoy these gentle journeys, I'd be so grateful if you'd consider leaving a like or subscribing to the channel for more peaceful stories. And if you feel moved, perhaps leave a comment below telling us what city or country you're listening from tonight. It's a beautiful thing to see how we are scattered all across the world, yet can gather here in this shared moment of peace. The story of Babel is often told as a grand, sweeping judgment, a divine act of power. But for the people who lived it, for the man laying the bricks, for the woman carrying the water, for the child playing in the shadow of the great structure, it was something else entirely. It was a Tuesday. It was a normal day at work. And then it wasn't. Now, dim the lights. Settle in, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Breathe in and breathe out. The air is warm and dry, smelling of dust and clay and the sweet, sharp scent of baking bread from the vast camp below. This is your world. You wake, not to a sound, but to a feeling. It's the subtle shift in the quality of the darkness, the pre-dawn gray that filters through the stretched animal skin of your tent. For a moment, you lie still on your reed mat, listening. The world is quiet, but not silent. There's the gentle breathing of your family beside you, a soft murmur from a neighboring tent, the distant, lonely call of a night bird. This is the rhythm of your life, a rhythm of deep, communal peace. Everyone you have ever known, everyone you will ever know, lives within the sound of a shout from here. You share the same words, the same jokes, the same songs, the same dreams. The air is cool now, a welcome reprieve before the sun begins its relentless climb. You rise, your movements slow and practiced. You pull on a simple linen tunic, the fabric coarse but familiar against your skin. Outside, the camp is already stirring. The glow of 100 small cooking fires dots the dim landscape, each one a tiny star of domestic life. The smell of wood smoke and grilling flatbread hangs in the air. You greet your neighbors, your cousins, your friends. The words are effortless, a seamless flow of understanding. The morning is beautiful. May your day be strong. Is the water jar full? Simple things, the bedrock of a shared existence. Your focus, however, is not on the camp. Your eyes and the eyes of every able-bodied person here are drawn upward to the east, where the form of the great tower eclipses the nascent dawn. It is a silhouette, A man-made mountain of brick and ambition, so tall now that it seems to hold up the sky itself. A deep, resonant pride swells in your chest. You helped build that. Your hands, your sweat, your strength are part of that magnificent ascent. You are a bricklayer, a master of your craft, and your work is high up, on the ever-growing edge of the world. After a quick meal of bread and dates, you join the river of people flowing towards the base of the tower. There is no confusion, no chaos. Just the steady, rhythmic tramp of thousands of feet moving with a single purpose. You pass the brickyards, or endless rows of clay squares bake in the sun, and the great kilns glow with an inner heat, turning soft mud into stone-hard permanence. Historically, many ancient structures used simple sun-dried bricks, but for a project of this magnitude, something more durable was needed. The Genesis account specifically mentions that they burned them thoroughly, indicating the use of advanced kiln-fired bricks, a testament to their sophisticated technology and their intention for this tower to last forever. You reach the base, a city in itself, and begin your climb. There are no elevators, no modern cranes, just a massive, spiraling ramp that winds its way up the exterior of the structure, wide enough for carts and workers to pass. The ascent takes time, your calves burning with the familiar effort. Below you, the world shrinks. The sprawling tent city becomes a patterned quilt. The Euphrates River, a silver ribbon glinting in the rising sun. The higher you climb, the more the world seems to belong to you, to all of you. It is a heady, intoxicating feeling. You are not just building a tower. You are building a new reality, one where humanity is the master of its own domain. There is a deep, quiet flaw in this thinking, a spiritual miscalculation that hums just beneath the surface of the collective pride. The theological insight here is subtle but profound. True unity is found in shared worship of the Creator, not in the shared worship of a creation, even one as grand as this. You are building a monument to your own name, to ensure you are not scattered. You are trying to seize with your own hands the security that is meant to be received as a gift. And somehow, in the vastness of the sky above, you can almost sense an immeasurable patience, a quiet watching. You have reached your station for the day, level 112. The wind is a constant companion up here, a steady, sighing presence that whips at the edges of your tunic and cools the sweat on your brow. You are not alone. Your crew is here Jabal, with his booming laugh and hands as wide as spades, young Kenan, eager and quick, and old Methuselah, whose eyes have seen more sunrises from this height than anyone. You greet them with the easy familiarity of brothers. Your words are the tools of your trade, as essential as any trowel or hammer. Jabal, the line needs to be trued. Kenan, more mortar, quickly now. Methuselah, check the join on that quarter. The communication is instant, precise, a beautiful dance of cooperation. Below, the work of the tower unfolds in a symphony of organized labor. You can see the pulley gangs, their muscles straining in unison as they haul massive baskets of brick and bitumen up the sheer faces of the structure. You see the water carriers, a constant chain of men and women, their clay jars heavy on their shoulders, providing the lifeblood of the project. Every single person knows their role, and every role is dependent on the other. A shout from a foreman on level 80 can be relayed to the ground in seconds, a cascade of voices echoing down the ramp. It is a marvel of human ingenuity, a testament to what can be achieved when all minds and all hands work as one. The driving force behind this monumental effort is a man you all know, a leader of immense charisma and power, Nimrod. His name is spoken with a mixture of awe and reverence. He was the one who first articulated the vision. He stood before the people on this very plain and painted a picture of a future where they would never again be at the mercy of the elements, never again scattered by flood or famine. Let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, he had declared, his voice ringing with conviction. Then let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth. The words resonated deeply. Everyone here carries the memory of the Great Flood, a story passed down from their great-grandfathers, a tale of terror and destruction. The idea of being scattered was a primal fear. Nimrod offered them an alternative, not faith in a distant, unseen God, but security in a tangible, man-made fortress. A name, a legacy, something solid and real. The historical context for such a structure is found in the ziggurats of ancient Mesopotamia. These were not just towers, but massive temple complexes, believed to be the dwelling places of the gods and a bridge between the heavens and the earth. By building their own, the people of Shinar were not just constructing a skyscraper. They were creating their own religious center, their own access point to the divine on their own terms. And so you work. You take a brick, still warm from its journey up from the kilns. It is a perfect rectangle of fired clay, heavy and solid in your hands. You expertly slap a thick layer of mortar onto the course below. The mortar isn't the cement-like mixture we know today. It is bitumen, a naturally occurring black, sticky pitch that seeps from the ground in this region. It is an excellent waterproofer and adhesive, another sign of their resourcefulness. You press the brick into place, tapping it gently with the handle of your trowel, ensuring it is perfectly level, perfectly aligned. Brick by brick, course by course, the tower rises. And with each brick, the central theological error is reinforced. The belief that humanity can secure its own salvation, that we can build our way to heaven. It is the oldest temptation to be the architects of our own destiny, independent of the one who gave us breath. And yet, the very air you breathe, the very strength in your arms, is a gift. How can one build a tower to escape the giver of all things, using the very gifts he has given? The sun reaches its zenith, a white-hot coin in the vast, cloudless blue. The heat is immense, radiating off the bricks, turning the air into a shimmering haze. The work slows. This is the time for rest, for water, for a meager lunch. You and your crew find a small patch of shade cast by a stack of waiting materials. You sit, your back against the warm brick, and share a piece of dried fish and a handful of figs. The conversation is light, full of the easy banter of men who have worked together for years. Jabal tells a story about his youngest son, who tried to build his own tiny tower out of mud pies, and you all laugh. The sound is genuine, carrying easily on the wind. From this vantage point, the world is a map laid out at your feet. You can see the organized chaos of the supply yards, the neat lines of the irrigation ditches that water the fields, the dark, fertile crescent of land that borders the great river. It is a world you have built, a world you command. There is a deep, satisfying sense of accomplishment in this view. You are not just a laborer. You are a pioneer, a world shaper. You are part of the generation that will be remembered forever. The generation that built the tower. As you eat, a song starts up from a crew on a lower level. It's a simple, rhythmic work chant. a song you have all known since childhood. The melody is carried up by the wind, and soon your crew joins in, and another and another. The song spreads across the face of the tower, a chorus of thousands of voices, all singing the same words, the same tune. It is the anthem of your unity, the soundtrack of your shared purpose. The harmony is perfect. It feels as if the tower itself is singing. This moment of connection, of shared humanity, is beautiful. It is a genuine good. The spiritual insight here is that the desires behind the tower were not all evil. The desire for community, for security, for creating something lasting and beautiful. These are good, God-given desires. The tragedy of Babel is not that they wanted to build, but why they wanted to build. It was a project born of fear and rooted in pride, a good impulse directed toward a self-aggrandizing end. They sought to create a unity centered on themselves, rather than on God. As the song fades, a runner arrives on your level, his chest heaving. He brings a message from the architects at the base. A new shipment of cedar wood has arrived from the mountains to the north, and it needs to be hoisted to the upper levels for the internal framework. This is a significant detail. The plain of Shinar was largely treeless. Acquiring massive timbers of cedar required extensive trade networks, complex logistics, and immense wealth. It highlights the incredible organization and regional power this city-state had already achieved. They were not a simple tribe of nomads. They were the center of a burgeoning civilization. You finish your meal and get back to work, your body moving with renewed purpose. The afternoon sun begins its slow descent toward the western horizon, and the shadow of the tower lengthens, stretching across the plain like a great, dark finger. It points toward the east, toward the lands of Eden, a place of memory and myth. A place where humanity once walked in perfect communion with its Creator. A communion that was broken by a similar act of pride, a similar desire to be like God. The parallel is lost on you, but it hangs in the air nonetheless. How is it that the very heavens they seek to reach seem to watch their efforts in an unbroken, profound silence? The late afternoon light bathes the tower in a soft, golden glow. This is the best part of the day. The heat has broken, a gentle breeze blows, and the rhythm of the work is steady and sure. You feel a deep sense of satisfaction. Another day, another few cubits closer to the sky. You are laying a particularly long course of bricks, and you're running low on the black, sticky mortar. You lean over the edge of the scaffolding slightly and look down at Kinan, who is managing the supplies for your section. Kinan, you shout, your voice clear and strong. Send up more pitch. The basket is almost empty. Kinan looks up, nods, and turns to the supply pile. A moment later, he secures a load to the small, hand-operated pulley that serves your immediate area. Jabal, standing beside you, begins to haul on the rope, his muscles bunching. You watch the basket rise, swaying gently in the wind. As it reaches your level, you reach out to guide it onto the platform. But when you look inside, you frown. It's not a bucket of the dark, thick bitumen you asked for. It's a bundle of cedarwood planks, playing smooth on one side. You chuckle, shaking your head. Keenan must have been distracted. A simple mistake. No, Keenan. You call down, a laugh in your voice. Not the wood, the pitch, the mortar. You use the common words, the words you have both used 1,000 times. Homer, asteris kashaltos. Asterisk, whatever the word is, it is the only word. Keenan looks up at you, a puzzled expression on his face. He shouts something back. but the wind snatches at the sound, twisting it into a strange, guttural noise that you don't recognize. It sounds like he's trying to speak with a mouthful of rocks. You cup your ear. What was that? Speak up. He shouts again, louder this time. The sounds are sharp, clipped, utterly alien. They are not the soft, flowing syllables of your shared language. It's gibberish, a string of meaningless noises. You stare at him, your smile fading. Jabal stops pulling the rope and looks down as well. What's wrong with the boy? He asks, his voice low and concerned. You shake your head, a knot of confusion heightening in your stomach. I don't know. Keenan, you try one more time, pointing emphatically at the empty mortar bucket. Mortar, pitch. I need more. Keenan throws his hands up in the air, his face a mask of frustration. He points to the wood, then back at you, and lets out another stream of harsh, incomprehensible babble. It sounds angry, insulting, almost. A cold prickle of unease runs down your spine. This isn't a joke. You have known Keenan his whole life. You taught him how to hold a trowel. And now, you cannot understand a single sound coming out of his mouth. It's as if a wall has suddenly sprung up between you, invisible but absolute. The easy, effortless connection you shared just moments ago has vanished. The theological weight of this moment is immense. Language is more than just words. It is a vessel for relationship, for community, for love. When God confounds the language, he is not just scrambling syntax. He is demonstrating how utterly dependent we are on his grace for even the most basic forms of connection. In an instant, a brother becomes a stranger. Suddenly, from a level below you, you hear a crash, followed by an angry shout. Then another shout in a completely different lilting tone. Then a third, sharp and guttural like Keenan's. It's not just Keenan. Something is happening. Something is breaking. And it is not made of brick or wood. The very air, once a medium of perfect unity, is now becoming a sea of confusion. And who could have ever imagined that a gift as simple as a shared word could be so fragile, so easily withdrawn? The single strange incident with Keenan is no longer an anomaly. It is becoming the norm with terrifying speed. A wave of confusion is washing over the tower, level by level, crew by crew. The air, once filled with the harmonious rhythm of the work chant, is now a cacophony of alien sounds. You hear a high-pitched musical language from the crew to your left, a series of deep, rolling consonants from your right. None of it is your own tongue. None of it is the tongue you woke up with this morning. You turn to Jabal, your friend, your rock. You open your mouth to say, "What is happening?" But the words that come out feel strange on your own tongue. They are your words, you think, but his face is a mask of confusion. He shakes his head, then speaks to you, and what you hear is not his familiar, booming voice, but a stream of soft, breathy syllables that mean nothing to you. Panic, cold and sharp, lances through you. You stare into the eyes of your friend, a man you have shared meals with, laughed with, toiled with for years, and you see a stranger. He sees the same in you. The bond of a lifetime, forged in shared experience and a shared language, has been severed in a single bewildering moment. You try again, using your hands, pointing to your ears, then shaking your head. He seems to understand the gesture, at least, and his own face is pale with a dawning horror. The chaos is escalating. A pulley team, 10 men working in perfect unison just an hour ago, is now in a state of pandemonium. The man at the top is screaming instructions to the men at the bottom, but his words are nonsense to them. They heave when they should be letting go. They let go when they should be holding fast. A massive block of limestone, intended for the inner chamber, slips its ropes. You watch in horror as it plummets, not straight down, but swinging wildly, crashing against the side of the tower with a sickening crunch. Bricks shatter, scaffolding splinters. Men scream, and for a moment, in that universal language of terror, you are all united again. But it passes, and the babble returns, now laced with fear and accusation. Who is to blame? The man at the top for shouting gibberish? The man at the bottom for not understanding? Trust is evaporating like water on hot stone. Every misunderstanding, every failed instruction, is now a potential betrayal. That crew over there, are they laughing at you? Are there strange words, insults directed at your crew? The paranoia is a poison, spreading faster than the confusion itself. The spiritual insight is a stark one. Unity built on human pride is a fragile, hollow thing. It cannot withstand the slightest pressure. Once the superficial bond of a single language is removed, the deeper fissures of suspicion, fear, and self-interest are revealed. True, lasting unity is a fruit of the spirit, not a feat of engineering. You see a foreman, a man of great authority, striding onto your level, his face thunderous. He shouts, trying to restore order, but his language is yet another new one, and his commands are just more noise in the bedlam. He grabs a worker by the arm, trying to force him back to his station, but the worker, not understanding, thinks he is being attacked and shoves the foreman back. A fight breaks out, clumsy and desperate. This is how it happens. This is how a world ends. Not with a bang, but with a word you no longer understand. This scene offers a fascinating, albeit speculative, cultural tidbit about social dynamics. In a rigidly hierarchical society, like that of an ancient construction project, the instantaneous collapse of the command structure would be catastrophic. A foreman's authority rested entirely on the clarity and power of his commands. When his words became meaningless, his power vanished, leaving a vacuum that was immediately filled by chaos and fear. One has to wonder, did God shatter their pride by breaking their bricks, or by simply showing them that the words they were so proud of were as fleeting as a breath on the wind? The sun is beginning to set, casting long, distorted shadows that crawl up the face of the tower like dark, grasping fingers. The golden light that felt so hopeful just an hour ago now seems mocking, illuminating a scene of total collapse. The great project, the work of a generation, has ground to a halt. Not from a lack of will, not from a lack of materials, but from a profound and sudden inability to connect. You and Jabal and Mephishal huddled together, a small island of bewildered silence in a sea of noise. Old Mephishal is weeping, his weathered face streaked with dust and tears. He keeps muttering a single word, over and over, a word from the old tongue, the one language. Home, he says, home. But the word itself feels like a relic, an artifact from a lost world. You can understand him, thank God, but young Kenan is gone. He stared at you all with fear and anger in his eyes, then scrambled away, joining a small group on a lower scaffold, who were all speaking his strange, new, guttural language. He glanced back once, and his expression was not one of friendship, but of suspicion. A brother lost. The systems that made this tower possible are now the instruments of its destruction. The water carriers, unable to understand who is thirsty, wander aimlessly, their precious cargo sloshing uselessly in their jars. The food distributors can't communicate with the cooking crews, and the evening meal, which should be a time of communal rest, is becoming a riot as hungry, frustrated workers try to take what they need. The internal communication system, the runners who carried messages from top to bottom, is utterly useless. A runner arrives on your level, speaking a rapid, flowing language, and gestures wildly toward the base of the tower. Is he warning of a fire? Is he calling for a meeting? Is he telling you to abandon the structure? No one knows. He looks at your blank faces, throws his hands up in despair, and runs off, his message undelivered. A key theological insight emerges from this chaos. God's intervention is not always a fiery spectacle. Sometimes the most powerful act is a quiet removal of a grace that was taken for granted. He did not smite the tower with lightning or shake it with an earthquake. He simply withdrew the gift of common understanding, and the people, in their pride, did the rest. They dismantled their own project. The judgment was not just the confusion of tongues. It was the revelation of what their hearts contained when the veneer of easy cooperation was stripped away. You look down at the sprawling camp below. From up here, it still looks peaceful, orderly. But you know it is not. The chaos on the tower is a mirror of the chaos that must be erupting down there. Wives unable to understand their husbands. Children crying in a language their mothers no longer recognize. The very fabric of society, the family unit itself, is being torn apart. This is a disaster on a scale you cannot comprehend. Historically, the creation of different language families is a process that linguists believe took thousands upon thousands of years of gradual separation and evolution. The biblical account presents this as a singular, instantaneous event, a miracle of division. To the people experiencing it, it would have felt like a form of madness, a waking nightmare where the entire world has suddenly lost its mind. Or worse, you have lost yours. How terrifyingly simple it is for the Creator to unmake the very thing that makes us a community, to turn the instrument of our unity into the agent of our division. Darkness is falling fast now, and with it comes a new kind of fear. The tower at night was once a place of torchlit beauty, a second city suspended in the sky. Now it is a place of peril. With no coordinated effort, the torches are not being lit. The winding ramps and precarious scaffoldings are disappearing into shadow. The risk of a misstep, a fall into the abyss, is terrifyingly real. The imperative is no longer to build, but to get down, to get to solid ground. But even this simple, shared goal is fraught with peril. There is a frantic rush for the main ramp, a stampede of shadows. Different groups, unable to communicate, collide with each other. A group speaking a sharp, clicking language tries to force its way past a group speaking a slow, melodic one. Shouts of anger and fear echo in a dozen incomprehensible tongues. It's no longer a cooperative descent. It's a desperate, selfish flight. You, Jabal, and Methusel stick close together. You are a unit, a tiny fragment of the old world. You find that you can still understand each other. Your language, the one you now speak, is shared between the three of you and a handful of others from your original crew. A new tribe, born in an instant. You begin to move, not toward the chaotic main ramp, but toward a series of smaller service ladders on the far side of the tower. It will be slower, more dangerous, but it will keep you away from the madness. As you make your way across a wide platform, you come face to face with another group. Their leader holds a torch, and in its flickering light, you see their faces are hard with suspicion. He barks a question at you in a language that sounds like rushing water. You hold up your hands in a gesture of peace, but he doesn't understand. He sees your trowels, your hammers, still tucked into your belts. He sees them as weapons. His men raise their own tools, their faces grim. This is the heart of the tragedy, the breakdown of trust. Just this morning, you would have greeted these men as brothers. Now, every stranger is a potential threat. Every misunderstood word is a potential insult. Every tool is a potential weapon. The spiritual truth laid bare is that sin isolates. The pride that drove them to build the tower has now atomized their society into a collection of fearful, mutually suspicious clans. They wanted to make a name for themselves, to be one great people. Instead, they have become 1,000 tiny, warring factions, defined not by what they share, but by how they are different. This dynamic of encountering another group and immediately assessing them as other is a deeply ingrained human behavior. Anthropologists speak of in-group, out-group bias as a fundamental aspect of human social structure throughout history. Here, on the tower, this abstract concept becomes a terrifyingly real and immediate experience. Language, once the bridge between us, has become the wall that creates them. Jabal steps forward, placing himself between you and the other group. He says nothing, but his posture is clear. He is protecting his own, your tiny group. The other leader hesitates, then slowly lowers his torch. He gestures for his men to back away, and they disappear into the darkness, their strange, liquid language fading. You let out a breath you didn't realize you were holding. You have survived one encounter. How many more will there be before you reach the ground? The mystery of the moment is overwhelming. What calculus of the divine mind decided that this one would speak a tongue of clicks, and that one a tongue of songs, and you a tongue of simple, plain words? The descent is a nightmare. Every corner you turn, every ladder you scale down, is filled with tension. The tower, your proud creation, has become a labyrinth of fear. The sounds are a constant, unnerving chorus. A sudden shout, the clang of a dropped tool echoing into the abyss, the soft, desperate weeping of someone lost and alone in the dark. You are no longer builders. You are survivors. As you move lower, the sounds from the camp on the plain grow louder, and they confirm your worst fears. It is the same chaos that plagues the tower, but amplified 1,000-fold. The entire city is a bedlam of confused, angry, and frightened voices. The dream of Nimrod, the great, unified metropolis, has died. Finally, your feet touch solid ground. You stumble away from the base of the tower, your legs trembling from exhaustion and fear. You stop and look back up at it. In the faint starlight, it is a jagged black shape against the sky, a silent, unfinished monument to failure. It was meant to be a symbol of your power, your unity, your permanence. Now, it is a tombstone for a world that no longer exists. All that effort, all that genius, all that sweat and sacrifice, for nothing. Or worse than nothing. It has become the very instrument of the scattering it was meant to prevent. You see him then, Nimrod, the great leader, the king, the visionary. He is standing on a platform at the base of the tower, surrounded by his personal guard. He is shouting, his powerful voice hoarse with desperation. But his words are just one more language in the cacophony. No one is listening. No one can understand. The people surge past him, small, newly formed clans of language, looking for their own tents, their own families. They look at him not with awe, but with blank incomprehension, or worse, with anger. They see him as the cause of this madness. His authority has vanished. His charisma is useless. He is just another man, shouting into the chaos he created. The theological insight here is a stark reminder of the limits of human power. Nimrod, a prototype of the arrogant, self-deifying ruler, is rendered completely impotent. His strength was in his words, his ability to unite people behind his vision. When that tool was taken away, his kingdom crumbled in an instant. It is a powerful illustration that all human authority is permissive and dependent. True power, the power to create and uncreate, to order and disorder, belongs to God alone. No matter how high we build our towers, we are never more than a single breath away from utter helplessness. A fascinating historical parallel can be drawn to the fall of great empires. The Akkadian Empire, one of the world's first, which existed in this very region of Mesopotamia, collapsed under mysterious circumstances. While historians point to climate change and invasion, ancient Sumerian texts, like the Curse of Akkad, blame the collapse on the hubris of a king who defied the gods, leading to a divine retribution that included social chaos and the breakdown of order. The story of Babel taps into this ancient cultural memory of powerful civilizations brought low by pride. And one can only gaze at the scene and wonder at the divine irony. The man who wanted to make a name for all mankind has lost the ability to even speak his own name in a way that anyone can understand. The night is spent in a state of watchful, exhausted fear. Your small group, your new family, finds a quiet spot at the edge of the now chaotic camp. You build a small fire, more for comfort than for warmth. You don't have much food, but you share what you have in silence. There is nothing to say. The shock is too deep, the loss too profound. You look at the faces of Jabal and Methuselah in the flickering firelight. They are the only familiar anchors in a world that has come completely unmoored. Sleep does not come easily. Every strange shout from the camp, every unfamiliar cry, jolts you awake. Sometime in the deep, dark hours before dawn, you begin to see it, the Exodus. It starts as a trickle. A single family, carrying their belongings, speaking their own new tongue, moves out of the camp, heading west. Then another group, larger, more organized, their language sharp and guttural, begins to march south. Then another and another. By the time the first gray light of dawn touches the sky, the trickle has become a flood. The great, unified camp is dissolving. It is breaking apart, shattering into 100 pieces, each piece a new people, a new language. They are clustering, instinctively, with those they can understand. If you can speak to someone, they are your people. If you cannot, they are a stranger, a foreigner, a potential enemy. The principle of scattering, the very thing they built the tower to prevent, is now their only means of survival. To stay here, in this multilingual chaos, would mean starvation and war. The only hope for peace is to separate. You watch them go, a silent, sprawling procession of humanity, dispersing to the four corners of the world. You see the fear and uncertainty on their faces, but also a grim determination. They are leaving everything they have ever known behind. The city, the fields, the tower, all of it. The central irony of the story is now complete. In their attempt to make a name for themselves and avoid being scattered, they have ensured that they will be scattered to the ends of the earth, and they will be known by 1,000 different names. Egyptians, Hittites, Elamites, Assyrians. Their great project of unity has become the engine of global diversity. The theological truth in this moment is one of painful mercy. The scattering is a judgment, yes, but it is also a strange and severe grace. It is a divine intervention to halt a trajectory of unified pride that could have led to an even greater spiritual catastrophe. By shattering their monolithic, self-worshipping culture, God forces them into a new kind of dependence on Him and on the small, fragile communities they can form. He is, in a sense, saving them from the success of their own rebellion. This event, the confusion of tongues and the subsequent scattering, serves as the foundational mythological explanation for the diversity of peoples and nations in the ancient Near East. For the ancient Israelites, who would later tell and retell this story, it explained why their neighbors in Egypt, Assyria, and Babylon spoke different languages and had different customs. It rooted the diversity of the world in a single divine act. And as you watch the last of a clan disappear over a dusty ridge, a question of profound mystery hangs in the air. Did the Lord in scattering them already know the paths they would walk, the nations they would become, and the one path by which some of them one day might find their way back? The sun is fully risen now, and the plain of Shinar is eerily quiet. The great camp, once a bustling city of tens of thousands, is now a ghost town of abandoned tents and smoldering campfires. The chaos of the night has given way to a profound and desolate silence. Most of the people are gone, scattered like seeds on the wind. Your small group is one of the few that remains. Jabal, Methishol, and the handful of others who share your new tongue. You have a decision to make. Stay here in the ruins of your old life, or follow the others into the unknown. There is no real choice. To stay is to starve. The fields will not be tended. The supply lines are broken. The city is dead. Slowly, methodically, you begin to gather your things. Your family's tent, a few cooking pots, the water skins, the tools of your trade. You look at your trowel, its edge worn smooth from laying countless bricks on the tower. It feels like a relic from another life. What use is a bricklayer's trowel in the wilderness? You almost leave it behind, but something makes you tuck it into your belt. It is a part of who you were. Before you leave, you walk one last time to the base of the tower. In the harsh morning light, it looks different. Not magnificent, but absurd. A colossal, unfinished monument to failure. The clean architectural lines are marred by the damage from the previous day's chaos, the shattered scaffolding, the piles of dropped bricks, the dark stain where the limestone blocks scraped the wall. It is a scar on the landscape, a testament to an ambition that flew too close to the sun. You place your hand on one of the bricks at the base. It is cool to the touch. You think of the sheer, monumental effort, the kilns burning day and night, the endless lines of workers, the songs, the laughter, the shared dream. A wave of grief, deep and sharp, washes over you. You have not just lost your home. You have lost a world. You have lost the beautiful, simple, intoxicating certainty of being one people. Now you are just you. A small, frightened group, speaking a language that, as far as you know, is spoken by no one else on earth. The theological insight that settles upon you in this quiet moment is one of humility. Pride builds. It erects monuments and seeks to secure its own legacy. Humility, on the other hand, often begins in the ruins. It starts when our own strength fails, when our grand projects lie in rubble at our feet. It is in the recognition of our finitude, our weakness, that the door to true wisdom begins to open. The tower was the pinnacle of their strength. This desolate plain is the beginning of their humility. You turn your back on the tower and do not look back. You and your small clan begin to walk, your faces set toward the north, where the hills rise to meet the sky. Your path is uncertain. You have no destination, no map. Only a shared language and a shared memory of what was lost. This small-scale migration is a microcosm of human history. The Out of Africa. Theory suggests that all modern humans trace their ancestry back to a small population that migrated out of Africa tens of thousands of years ago. While the timeline and mechanism are different, the story of Babel captures a similar essential truth, that all of humanity shares a common origin, a single starting point from which we have been scattered and diversified. There is a deep, quiet wonder in the thought that every journey, no matter how long, begins with a single, uncertain step away from something that is broken. Days turn into weeks. The plain of Shinar is a distant memory, a faint smudge on the southern horizon. Your world has shrunk to the size of your small clan. There are 37 of you in total, the men from your work crew, their wives, their children. You are a nation of 37 souls, adrift in a vast and empty world. Life is hard. It is a constant search for the basics: water, food, shelter. You learn the rhythms of the wilderness. You learn which plants are edible and which are poison. You learn to track game, to read the signs of the weather in the clouds. Jabal, with his great strength, becomes your hunter. Old Methuselah, with his quiet wisdom, becomes your elder, the keeper of your stories. You, with your builder's hands, learn to fashion simple shelters from wood and stone. Your skills have been repurposed. You are no longer building to the heavens. You are building to survive the night. The new language, which at first felt so strange, has become your own. It is the language in which you comfort your children, in which you plan your day's journey, in which you pray to a God who feels both terribly distant and terrifyingly close. Sometimes in the quiet of the evening, around the fire, you try to remember the old words, the words from the before time. A name, a line from a song. But they are like water slipping through your fingers, ephemeral and gone. The memory of that perfect, effortless understanding now feels like a dream. One evening, you encounter another group. You see their fire from a distance and approach with caution. They are a family, much like your own, but their faces are different, their clothing is different, and the sounds they make as they speak to one another are completely alien. You stand for a moment at the edge of their camp, a silent, mutual recognition of otherness passing between you. There is no hostility, only a shared, weary understanding. You are both lost. You are both starting over. You give a slight nod, they return it, and you continue on your way. The spiritual truth that has taken root in your heart is one of dependence. On the tower, you felt self-sufficient, powerful, the master of your world. Here in the wilderness, you are utterly dependent. Dependent on the land for food, dependent on the weather for survival, dependent on each other for safety, and dependent on a God you cannot see for the daily miracle of the rising sun. The pride has been scoured out of you by hardship, replaced by a quiet, fragile resilience. You are learning to live on the earth, not to conquer it. This journey of your small clan is a process of ethnogenesis, the formation of a new ethnic group. Historians and sociologists study how shared experiences, a unique language, and geographic isolation lead to the development of a distinct cultural identity. You are living this process in real time. Your children will not remember the tower or the one language. Their world will be defined by your clan, your language, your stories. This is how the nations were born, in these small, wandering groups, each carrying a fragment of the original whole. And in this vast, silent world, the divine mystery is no longer about power, but about presence. Is the God who scattered them also the God who walks with them, unseen, in their journey into the unknown? Years pass. The children have grown. You are no longer a young man. Your hair is streaked with gray. Your face is a map of sun and wind and worry. Your clan has found a place to settle, a small, fertile valley with a clear, running stream. You have built a village, not of kill-fired brick and bitumen, but of simple stone and wood. It is humble, but it is home. You sit at the entrance of your dwelling in the evening, watching the children play. They laugh and shout in the language of your clan, the only language they have ever known. They have no memory of Shinar, no concept of a time when all people spoke as one. For them, the world has always been this way, a collection of different peoples, different tongues. The story of the Great Tower is just that a story you tell them around the fire, a legend from the time of the ancestors. Sometimes, a deep melancholy settles over you. You remember the feeling of unity, the power of a million hands working as one. You remember the perfect harmony of the work chant, the effortless understanding in a friend's eyes. And you grieve for what was lost. The world feels smaller now, more fractured. The grand unifying dream is gone, replaced by the simple daily task of survival. But then, you look at your grandchildren, their faces bright with life. You look at the peaceful valley, the fields of barley you planted with your own hands, and you feel a different kind of emotion, not grief, but a quiet gratitude. The ambition of the tower was a fever, a madness. It was a desire to become gods, to control your own destiny, to build a fortress against the will of heaven. Where would it have ended? What monstrous pride would have been born if you had succeeded? Perhaps the scattering was not merely a punishment. Perhaps it was a rescue, a severe, painful, but necessary course correction. The theological insight that has crystallized over a lifetime is that God's snow is often a greater mercy than his. Yes, he said no to their tower, to their unified pride, to their self-made salvation. And in that no, he gave them a chance to become something else. Not a monolithic empire, but a diverse tapestry of peoples, each with their own unique gifts, their own unique struggles, their own path to finding him. He did not destroy his creation. He diversified it. You think about the different peoples you have occasionally seen at a distance on your long journey. The ones who went south into the hot lands, the ones who went east toward the mountains. Their languages and customs are different, but are they so different in their hearts? Do they not also love their children, fear the darkness, and look up at the stars in wonder? This is a subtle nod to the concept of Imago Dei in all peoples. Even after the fall and the scattering, the image of God, though marred, remains in every human being. The scattering diversified the culture, but it did not erase the shared humanity. The mystery is profound. Did the shattering of one language allow for the eventual birth of 1,000 new kinds of poetry? 1,000 new songs? 1,000 new ways to describe the beauty of a sunset? You are an old man now, your back bent, your hands gnarled. You spend most of your days in the sun, watching the life of the village unfold. Jabal is gone, laid to rest on the hillside overlooking the valley. Methshel too. You are one of the last of the tower generation, the last to remember the world that was. Your grandson sits with you, his own son on his knee. He is the leader of the village now, strong and wise. He asks you, as he often does, to tell him the story. "Tell me again, grandfather," he says, his voice gentle. "Tell me about the tower." And so you tell him. You speak of the flat plain and the river. You speak of the pride and the unity. You describe the feeling of standing so high that the world looked like a blanket at your feet. You tell him about the bricks, the bitumen, the song that everyone sang. And then you tell him about the moment. The confusion, the fear, the face of your friend Jabal suddenly becoming the face of a stranger. You describe the chaos, the collapse, the long, dark descent. As you speak, you look at the face of your great-grandson. He is listening, his eyes wide. To him, it is a fantastic tale, a myth from the dawn of time. He cannot truly imagine a world with only one language. His world is, and has always been, a world of many. And as you finish the story, looking at this new generation, a final, profound spiritual understanding settles in your soul. The story of the tower is not just about an end. It is also about a beginning. It is the story of how your people came to be. It is your origin story. It explains why you are here, in this valley, speaking this language. It is the womb that formed you. And you realize that God did not simply erase the people's ambition. He redirected it. He took their desire to make a name for themselves, and in a way they could never have intended, He granted it. He gave them new names, new identities, new histories. He turned their vertical ambition to build up to heaven into a horizontal one, to fill the earth. This is the great, overarching narrative of the Old Testament, the calling of one man, Abraham, out of this scattered world. The Bible story doesn't end with the scattering. In fact, the very next chapter in Genesis introduces Abram from the city of Ur, not far from the plains of Shinar. God's response to humanity's attempt to unite itself from the ground up is to initiate His own plan of unification, from the top down, starting with one family. The story of Babel sets the stage for the story of redemption. It creates the scattered world that God will then begin to call back to Himself. You look up at the sky, at the vast, endless blue that you once tried to reach with your own hands. The tower is a ghost, a dream. But your family, your village, this life, this is real. This is the life that was given to you from the ruins of the old one. And for the first time, you feel a sense of peace with it all. The loss is still there, a faint ache in your heart, but it is overshadowed by the simple, solid reality of what is. And you are left with the quiet, humbling wonder of it all, that a story of such pride and failure could also be the first chapter in a story of grace. And so, our journey ends, not in the chaos and clamor of a falling tower, but here, in the quiet wisdom of a life lived. The echoes of the hammers have faded. The babble of 1,000 new tongues has softened into the gentle murmur of the world as we know it. The story of Babel, which began in pride, concludes in a kind of peace, the peace of acceptance, the humility of knowing our place in a world far grander and more mysterious than any tower we could ever build. Let the story settle around you now, like dust motes dancing in a sunbeam. Let the tension in your shoulders release. Let your breathing find its own slow, easy rhythm. Feel the solid ground beneath you, the simple, dependable reality of the earth. We do not need to build our way to heaven. We do not need to make a name for ourselves. We are already known. Imagine a quiet stream, like the one in that small, peaceful valley. The water flows effortlessly over smooth stones, making its way to a greater sea. It does not strive or struggle. It simply moves in the path laid out for it. Let your mind be like that water, flowing calm and clear. The stars that watch the tower rise and fall are the same stars that shine above you tonight. They are a silent testament to a grandeur that needs no human validation. They speak of a constancy, a faithfulness that endures beyond all our grand projects and our spectacular failures. There is a deep and abiding peace in that, a peace that finds us not on the heights of our own ambition, but in the quiet valleys of surrender. May you feel that peace tonight. May it be a blanket of grace, covering you as you drift into restful sleep. May you know that even in the confusion, even in the scattering, there is a loving hand that guides, that provides, and that will, in the fullness of time, gather all things to himself. Rest now. Rest in that promise. Sleep well,